Hey, today I'm talking about 3 films featuring the French song Clair de Lune, which means moonlight. You are currently hearing it right now. It is featured in countless TV shows and movies, though I would say it is most notably used at the end of Ocean's 11. It's the fountain scene. It's really, really good there. The reason that I'm doing this theme is because it's actually been in a lot of movies that I watched this year inadvertently, in particular some Malaysian ones. And so I figured as a fitting end to 2023, I'd watch 3 films featuring this song from the aughts. And the names of those 3 movies are Tokyo Sonata, Atonement, and Twilight. First up is Tokyo Sonata. This is a 2008 Japanese film, surprisingly enough. And the basic premise is this family is kind of struggling with just everything. So like the dad at the beginning of the film loses his job and then decides to not tell his wife and then just struggles to find a new job. The one son's dealing with what to do with his life. The other son is struggling to be allowed to do his passion but also find his place in school. And then the mom is just kind of on her own existential crisis as well. And it's really good. I really loved all of the stories. The dad's one is so fascinating to me just because like I can't even imagine the thought process behind his choices. Like not telling his wife he got fired? What? How? And then like keeping it a secret and all the extreme lengths that he would go to do stuff and just like the friends he made along the way were really interesting. But the other stories were very interesting too. It's a very well-made film and the use of Clair de Lune, I figured where it was gonna go fairly quickly, but even despite that, it still worked really, really well where it popped up. Yeah, I don't know, it just really worked for me on like a very fundamental level. Like it hit the emotional moments that I wanted it to and explored really interesting ideas in unique ways. So yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed this film and would totally recommend it. It's a really good, really interesting little film. So yeah, definitely worth a watch. Next up is Atonement. This is a 2007 British film, and it stars Keira Knightley and James McAvoy, but also features just a ton of up-and-coming British actors, like Saoirse Ronan's in this. I'm not gonna bother naming everyone because there's a bunch of them, but it was just like fun to be like, oh, it's you, what, you're in this, that's crazy. Anyway, this is based off a book, and so the basic premise is, I'm gonna kind of spoil it a little bit, but I kind of have to. It's still gonna be vague though. Essentially, this young girl witnesses something that she doesn't fully understand and then misinterprets it and tells everyone about the misinterpretation, which then leads to devastating consequences for other people. Dramatically change the course of their lives. I thought it was pretty good. It's a quite like, so it's a 4 out of 5. Though I did have a number of issues with it. Firstly, it took so long to get to the inciting incident. There's just so much stuff in this house and all these people. And like I get it, they want to establish everyone and everything, but it's just like after a while I'm just like, I don't get what the title means. What's this atonement? What are we atoning for? Where is the story even going? We're just kind of existing in this world. And then when the incident happens, I don't feel like we spent enough time there, because in a sense it's a simple misunderstanding that is complicated by a lot of things, but like it could have been resolved with a simple conversation. I have to imagine that they had, but it didn't go well. I need to see that conversation. I need to see how this all fell apart in such a dramatic and terrible way. And then there's time jumps, which is fine. But I feel like we skipped over an important one. I won't say what exactly it is. You see basically a character after they've gone through this trial they had to face, and they make reference to it, feel the consequences of it, but like would have been good to see even just a glimpse of the trial that they went through rather than just hearing about it after the fact. And then like near the end of the film, there's a scene that just kind of felt out of place and strange to me. It didn't feel like tonally consistent with the rest of the film, but I'm like, oh, okay, I guess this is just happening. But then it's soon they're revealed, oh, that scene didn't actually play out like how we said it did. And I'm like, why did you do that then? They explain why. And I'm like, I sort of get it, but also no, it didn't work. And it probably works better within the context of the book that this is based off of, but here it felt very out of place. For how much I'm complaining, I'm kind of surprised how high I put this, but it is definitely a well-made film. All of the actors do a really good job. Aesthetically, it looks great. I love the costume. costumes, the world they've built, it feels real and grounded. Emotionally, things work really well. It has a great cast. It just has a number of problems that brought it down a bit, but it's still a good film. So I honestly would still recommend this movie despite all of my complaining. It's still a good film. And lastly is Twilight. This is a 2008 film that I have seen before in 2009. So I was roughly 18 years old. I watched it with my girlfriend at the time, who was a big fan. And I will admit that at the time I didn't give this film an honest try. I didn't go into it with an open mind. I definitely went into it with the desire to bash it. So I made a very strong effort to not do that this time, that I would go into this as openly as I could. And I thought it was fine. There's definitely stuff I like, but there's also definitely stuff that I didn't like. So let's see. I like the universe that they've made. I think it's an interesting place. The characters are decent for the most part. The language that Edward and Bella use with each other isn't the most healthy language, but I did find their relationship, as not great as it is, interesting. I really liked the baseball scene. I thought the baseball scene was a lot of fun. It was kind of silly and random, but like, it worked for me. I also really liked Alice for two reasons. One is that she's clairvoyant, and I think stories with a clairvoyant can go a lot of different ways, and I think the way that they did it here was interesting. And the second reason is I am very attracted to that haircut and just her in general, to the point of I wasn't planning on watching more of these, but I kind of want to watch more just to see more of Alice because she's pretty. Can I have some more, please? So that was nice. But what didn't I like about it? Well, I talked about their relationship already, but a bigger thing is that I was bored because it didn't seem like this movie was going anywhere or doing anything. Like, I remember thinking a good chunk of the way into the movie, I'm like, how is this movie gonna end? Like, what are they building towards? What are they gonna do? And like, they did technically build to the final conflict, but it's just like these little bits of information that are very disconnected from the main story, so that it made this big final conflict feel very disconnected from everything else that's happened. It also didn't feel like that big of a thing to end on. I know these movies get more ridiculous and out there, but like, I don't know, it just felt like such a small, insignificant ending that didn't mean anything. So I wish the final fight would have been more tied into the overall story and or grander in some way. Also, I just wish I wouldn't have been so bored throughout. So yeah, no, I liked it. It was fine. I definitely don't regret watching it, but this movie definitely has a lot of room for improvement. Would I recommend it? I mean, you know if you want to watch Twilight or not. I'm not going to convince you either which way. That's up for you to decide. This is a classic. Also, I do really appreciate like its cultural impact, because like this shit was everywhere for a hot second and definitely influenced a lot of people in fascinating ways. Looking at you, 50 Shades of Grey. So yeah, it's a thing. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got Tokyo Sonata sitting at number 69 in the really liked category. And then after that is Atonement sitting at number 115 in the quite like section. And then bringing up the rear, rightfully so, is Twilight sitting at number 195 in the liked category. And this is out of a total of 279 old movies this year.